What's going on, guys? I'm Stein, you're in my domain, and welcome back to Stardew Valley. We are on week 3 of Spring 1, and it was a pretty productive week, so why don't I just jump in here and tell you guys what happened. Now, to start off with, it was a raining day on Monday, which is really good. It means we didn't have to take care of any crops. We were just able to go around and do whatever we wanted. Now, what I really wanted to do was fish, but it didn't exactly wind up happening that way. Instead, I realized that salmon berries were in season and figured, you know what? It would be a really good day to go picking salmon berries and getting ready for maybe a future day of mining. Throughout the entire day, I managed to find about 32 or so salmon berries in all, so it wound up being a decent amount. Another thing that I found while I was out were a bunch of these spring onions, which all together, combined with all the berries that I found, made me feel pretty confident that I was going to have plenty of energy to get me through the rest of the week with what I planned on doing. Also, in the last episode, Day 12 got a little cut because it was corrupted, but during that day while I was out and about, I did manage to find a lost axe, and I went to return it to Robin on this day. Beyond that, I just went mining. I got down to floor 15, and unfortunately I didn't get as much copper as I would have liked. Then something happened that actually started to get me scared. While I was killing one of these slimes, the whole cave started to turn green, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I heard the fucking buzzing of one of these little fly things, so I was like, okay, that's fine. And then another one showed up. And then another one showed up. And then another one showed up. And then another one. And then... No, that wasn't it. It didn't take long, though, for the mist to fade, and then, I managed to kill them all. Just took me a few. And I realized this sword is really crap. I need to get a new sword or upgrade it as soon as I can. Also, how much fucking health did they take off of me? It wasn't really a great day mining. I didn't get as many ore as I wanted, but I did save most of the berries and spring onions that I got, figuring I would use them on a better day. I didn't have much time down there, really, but I did stay way later than I should have. Thankfully, it didn't amount to a big energy penalty the next day. On Tuesday, we had another good luck day. Not as good as the last day, I don't think, but what are you gonna do? It wasn't raining, so obviously we watered our crops and picked up anything that was already grown. I made an extra chest, brought it to the mine, that way just in case I needed some storage, I have some storage over there to work with. And of course, I just kept on mining. Even though I had good luck in the mines, I actually had really bad luck where I got another one of these swarms of the flies again. 2 days in a row, 2 swarms. And Jesus Christ, these guys took a lot of health off of me. I was able to just keep myself alive eating some of the salmon berries that I managed to pick up. But they almost killed me while I was down there. While I was out there, I managed to find a glow ring from one of these mole guys. And I immediately chucked my rusty sword when I found a steel small sword in a chest down at floor 20, which is as far as I made it. However, I kinda stayed out a little too late and wound up passing out around 2 AM by accident. But, all things considered, not the worst thing in the world. Also, I realized there's a really cool lake on floor 20 that I'll have to come back and try fishing in one day, but for now, I didn't have my fishing rod and I really didn't have the time to worry about it, so I decided to skip it and keep on moving. Wednesday turned out to be a much better day. The store was closed, so I figured it would be more time to just go to mining. I did all my chores and of course went down to, the caves. One of the slimes down there dropped a forest sword, so that even replaced the steel sword I got the last day. It's actually really useful, and wound up being way, way better than the steel small sword, so that's going to deal a lot of damage and help me out in the long run, for sure. I found huge deposits of copper while I was in the mine today. I actually almost got 50 pieces, not exactly, but almost 50 pieces. And thanks to this new forest sword, I got down to the 35th floor. I got 15 floors in one day, so that's great. When I got back to my house, I decided with all this copper, I should probably build a second furnace, since you can only fill them up with one item at a time, and it does take time to, smelt these ores into bars. It's better to have more of them running at once. Even though it does waste a bit of initial copper to make the furnace, I figured in the long run, make things faster, speed things up a little bit. Also, somewhere along the way I found a dwarf scroll. I don't exactly know what that's for, but it says to take it to the museum. I have a lot of things to go to the museum, so one day I'm going to have to get on top of that, but for right now I kind of just put it in my chest and left it alone. The next day started normally. I was missing a bit of energy from staying out too late, but I did all my morning chores. Even then, I finished them a little too early, so I stood outside of Pierre's kind of impatiently till 9 a.m. Immediately, first thing I did was I went inside and I bought the bag. I needed to upgrade my inventory space if I was really going to get serious about going down into the mine, because too often I'm running out of space and throwing away things that I could use later on. It didn't take too much time back in the caves till I reached level 40 and got a slingshot out of a chest down there. I didn't think it's the most useful thing, but I did try it out a little bit. It took me a while to figure out how to get some stones in there, but I figured it out. I don't think I'm going to be using it that much, though. Down past floor 40, I finally started to strike iron, plus a lot of new creatures that I hadn't seen before. Didn't seem too dangerous with my new forest sword in hand, and it actually wound up being a decent amount of iron and copper that I got out of the mines today. I started to find myself running a little bit low on all the berries and spring onions that I had picked over the last few days, so I decided to head back early enough to not get an energy penalty the next day, sell some of the things that I had found down there, and just call it a night there. Since I got so much copper the previous day, I decided to spend all of Friday pretty much just smelting up some bars and fishing. Lots and lots of fishing. I managed to actually upgrade my fishing pole, which lets me use some bait, and all the bug meat that I got in the caves was able to be turned into bait, so it was a pretty good setup. After I bought my rod, I went back home to finish fishing over there, because I wanted to make some sprinklers. All in all, I managed to make about 10 sprinklers, which is a start. I'd like to get about 20 more by the end of the month, before summer starts. We'll see how many I can actually manage to get in my hands, but overall, not the worst. For the last few hours of the night, I fished a little bit, made a couple $100, and went to sleep. Of course, to start the next day. The next day, I went straight to the store and bought 60 potatoes, or 60 potato seeds, and I planted 40 of them directly in the sprinklers to make my life easier, and the other 20 I just put on the side. We'll see how those actually work. I did find out that I had to actually water the plants in the sprinklers on the first day, because you can't leave the sprinklers out and hoe the ground, and then the next morning leave them like that. They'll usually disappear and untill themselves, so you have to, of course, retill it and water it in the morning, and then from then on, after something's planted, they'll keep on going. So it's going to be a nice system to have in place once we get into the next month. Other than that, just spent way more time fishing like I said I was going to, and it actually turns out to be a decent moneymaker. I got a few chests in the middle of everything while I was fishing, which is always a nice little surprise. Usually they have junk, but sometimes they have some materials like amethyst in that one. Also, I remembered to put a scarecrow in the middle of that crop so that in the morning no one comes and, eats my precious potatoes. I figured it should be big enough to cover the area that I'm working with. And finally on Sunday, it was a raining but bad luck day. I thought it would be a good day to go to the mines. And I mean, it could have been better, could have been worse. I wound up getting about 25 pieces of iron, not the largest amount that I would have liked, but that's what you get on bad luck, I guess. Also, our strawberries grew in the first time, which was a nice little help, but, I mean, other than that, nothing really to talk about. However, of course, 25 iron, 5 iron bars, eventually it's going to be 5 more sprinklers for the farm. At the end of the night, my harvesting skill wound up going up, so now I can make more money off of everything I farm, and actually selling all my crops from that day made me over $3,000. So it's going to be a nice way to start the next week. Actually, I think I'm going to leave this video there. cut that off at another 1 week section. So now we are ending off week 3. Next time when we see each other, I'm going to be going into week 4. I did already record, as of this little bit right here, I did record the first 2 days of the next week. So I'm probably going to be editing those a little bit differently than this last episode and the end of the last episode before this. So tell me which one do you guys like better, and I'll see you guys next time.